the secret of happiness to the world. Mind Education is a set of insightful lectures that allows us to think deeply about the world of the heart, which we all have, but we may have forgotten. We've been presenting the Mind lectures on various topics to many different types of cohorts, such as Christian leaders, parents, seniors, and college students. I'm so excited to meet all of you and take a journey together into the world of mind for a week. This week, we will invite a special guest speaker each day who will help us navigate our hearts to find the right way to reach true happiness. And the Mind lectures will continue until this Friday. The Lighthouse Mind Education Institution is planning on hosting more Mind lectures. So if you would like to get news from us, please send me your contact information through a private chat, or you can also send us a text message or an email, as you can see on the screen later. And you can also send me a chat if you have any question after listening to the lecture. It's the very first day of our online Mind lecture today, and I will invite a special guest speaker, Lydia Perez, and she will present about managing the heart field for us. Please welcome her with a big round of applause.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. My name is Lydia Perez, and I am a mind education specialist. I am very thankful and honored to be able to stand in front of you and talk about the world of the heart. The subject we will discuss is managing the heart field. So the main topics that we will be covering are: what is the heart field? The process of growth of a thought seed, and organizing and maintaining the heart field. So let's get started. Our heart is like a field. First, I want to ask all of you, are you satisfied with your current image? Most people think, oh, I'm living like this now because of this person, or because of these things, these reasons. However, there's a saying that my image today is the result of what I made yesterday. Each seed has a specific direction in life. Apple seeds later turn into an apple tree that bears delicious apples. Mustard seeds, although it is the smallest seed in the world, they transform into a strong, large tree that bears a very sweet fruit. In the same way, our thoughts are like seeds that form my current image. A field is not shiny like gold and diamonds, but it has something very special that jewels cannot give. When it receives a seed, it can turn into beautiful and delicious fruits. Our heart is the field, and if you plant a seed, it won't stay still, but it will grow. So first, let's talk about the definition of the heart field. A thought, by definition, is an idea or opinion that recognizes mental action to consider and judge. The heart is a place where emotions, thoughts, and memories come into being. So thoughts are planted inside of the heart field, which is the basis of the original mind. So everyone, it depends on what thought is planted, it will bear that type of fruit. So how does it grow inside of the heart? Thoughts are born just like how newborn babies are born. It is very small at first, but little by little, they grow and become pilots, generals, engineers, and in this case, firemen. Now, a fireman does not become a fireman right away. First, a thought is born inside of him, and then it grows, and then he follows the thought that grew inside of him. One day, I want to become a fireman who saves people's lives. Starting from a very young age, this thought was planted, and it grew bigger and bigger, and later it takes over the mind. Now, when it takes over the mind, it leads his life in that direction. For example, studying hard in high school, later going to an academy for firefighters. Also, working out every day to become fit. And also visiting the fire station to learn more. And later on in life, he finally becomes a real firefighter. So, the most important thing to ask is, what thought is planted inside of my heart? For example, Sung Bong Choi is a young man from South Korea. At the age of 3, he was given up to an orphanage by his parents. But later, he ran away when he was only 5 years old because of the mistreatment. Starting from 5 years old, he spent 10 long years by himself, living on the streets, sleeping on stairs, in public bathrooms. He sold gum and energy drinks to make money. But one day, he heard a singer at the nightclub sing very, very sincerely. Ever since that moment, Songbong had a thought. I want to become a singer. As that thought grew in his heart, he found ways to practice and take singing lessons wherever he could. In 2011, he went out on Korea's Got Talent to pursue his dream. He became very famous and loved by many people. Today, he's a very well-known and praised artist who has performed around the world. And he even wrote an inspirational book about his life. Now, the thoughts that Songbong planted inside of his heart, I want to become a singer. This thought grew in his heart and later bore very inspirational fruits. However, let's think about what his life would have been if he planted a different type of fruit, different type of thought. His childhood was very difficult. So, if he planted the thought, my life is miserable, how would his life be different now? Surely, his life would have been very, very distinct. And so, that is why the most important thing is to take care of and clean the heart field. If you don't have control of the heart field, it could bring many problems when there are impactful incidents in your life. So what we need is not effort or diligence to change our lives, but a tiller who takes care of the field. Now the tiller of the field takes out the seeds and then the plants that are harmful and unnecessary. In the same way, the tiller of the heart needs to see what thoughts are inside of him and to later distinguish if this is a thought that I should keep and let it grow or a thought that I should throw away. Why is this important? If we leave negative thoughts in our heart, those thoughts don't just stay still, but they grow and the heart becomes darker and darker. In the same way, if we put hatred in the heart will later be filled with hatred. Everyone, it depends on what is in the heart. You can turn into a person who is diligent, a person who is very serious, or a person who is excellent. Now, let's compare the life of two individuals who had a very similar childhood. Now, everyone, who is this? There's no doubt that everyone knows and recognizes her. She is Oprah Winfrey. Now, she is North America's first Black multi-billionaire, and she was named the most influential woman in the world in 2007. She is someone that many people look up to. But what is most admirable is how she overcame her childhood. Oprah Winfrey was born in 1954, and she didn't know her mother until she was 6 years old. Although her mother did not want her because of her darker skin tone. She was a victim of sexual abuse for many years by her cousin, her uncle, and a family friend. When she was 14 years old, she became pregnant because of the abuse, but her baby died 2 weeks later. Now, many could say that her life seemed without any hope, but when her baby had passed away, her father came to Oprah and said, "Now this is your second chance to change your life. You can change your life. You don't have to be caught in despair, but you can become anything that you want to be. You can change your life." Now this thought was planted in her heart, and it drove her to study in school, to start a career, and to become a person who helped many people all around the world. Her story is truly amazing. But not everyone was able to copy Oprah's life. This is Eileen Wuornos. She lived a very similar childhood as Oprah. Born 2 years after Oprah, Eileen Wuornos was abandoned by her mother at 4 years old and never knew her biological father. She went to live with her grandparents, but she was sexually abused by her grandfather. She became pregnant at 14 years old and was sent to live in a home for unwed mothers. Now it's amazing how similar her childhood was to Oprah's. But what happened later? Eileen Wuornos became infamous for murdering at least 7 men who she lured in by pretending to be a prostitute. Now, what thought did Eileen Wuornos plant in her heart? From a young age, she thought, men did this to me. Men ruined her life. So she took vengeance by killing as many as she could. She later was caught and executed by lethal injection at the age of 46. not only in the life of others, but I also experienced this in my life. One thing you guys may not know about me is that I'm a very, very shy person. I grew up very shy. My biggest fear was talking in front of others and also asking people questions. A long time ago when I was young, I would go to McDonald's with my mother, but she would tell me, hey, go order some more French fries. I wouldn't do it for anything because I was so scared. And so my worst nightmare was the stage. During elementary school plays or events, I had panic attacks and I refused to go on the stage. Even though I had practiced and did all the rehearsals, I would never ever end up going on the stage. So what was the thought that was very big inside of my heart? Never. I can never do it. Never, never, never. I can't do it. Sometimes I think that the biggest thought we have is, I can't do it. I think I would have spent my whole life allowing this thought to grow bigger and bigger and grow very strong fruits. But later on, my mother, she sent me to a youth organization called IYF, which taught mind education so that we can have strong mindsets. That is where I joined the dance team. This is a collage of many photos over the years from 2010 to 2020. I had so many pictures, I didn't know which one to choose, so I just put as many as I could. Starting from 2010, later 2012, 2013, 2016, all of my photos are here. And so, what is the thought that mind education planted in me? The new thought. Let's try. It's okay if I don't do well, but let's just try it. Ever since then, the more I danced, the bigger this seed became. Later on, the thought, let's try, later turned into, I can do it. And then later it turned into, I love being on the stage dancing. From that one thought that was planted, so many fruits were born. I was able to travel over 10 different countries just in 2019, dancing and volunteering all around the world. I was able to stand on many stages around the USA and in different countries, having audiences as big as 30,000. One thought really changed my life. Everyone, it is very important to organize and control the thoughts that are in our heart. Through mind education, we can learn to think deeply and throw away the thoughts that don't benefit us, but just bring us misery. So now, let's practice by doing an activity that helps us organize our thoughts. So first, I want to ask everyone, let's make a thought checklist. I hope everyone can participate. First, please write down one thought that you have about this current situation. Right now, many things are happening, right? Coronavirus, the quarantine, protests, many different things all around the world. So please write down one thought you have about the current situation. It could be your situation, or it could be the world situation. Number two, please think about one thought you have about your family. These days we spend a lot more time with our family. So please, any thought that you have, please think about it and write it down. Lastly, please write down one thought that you have about yourself. We all have different perspectives of how we are. Please write down one of those things very freely right now. Is everyone about ready? Did you write down your 3 thoughts? It took me a moment to really think deeply about what thoughts I had. Please take your time. Okay, now I hope most of you have written at least one thought down, or all 3 would be best. So we'll have a time now to freely give and tell each other one of our thoughts at least. Does anyone want to go first?
Can I go first?
Yes, you can.
So my thought about my family. So the thought about my family is I wish my parents weren't so old-fashioned or like so traditional, if that makes sense. Because they're not, so how I view certain situations and how my parents view certain situations is really different. And it's like really hard to come to an understanding. So I just sometimes wish we could see eye to eye on certain levels. Yeah.
Thank you, Benji. Does anyone else want to freely share one of their thoughts?
So I put this for the first one because of coronavirus and also Black Lives Matter, the whole protest. I said I wish people understood one another, but this also goes for like first and also my thoughts about myself. Because if people understood one another, then I think racism wouldn't exist. And then also, because for number 3, I put I wish I could freely express myself disregarding what others might think about me. I think that would also help me to that.
Very good. Thank you very much, Kathleen. Now, one more person, if you could share, that'd be very nice.
I'll share. So also like about family too, because I'm first generation in America, same as a lot of us. I feel like my mom doesn't really understand me, and I wish that she would understand. But because we grew up in very different environments, she always says, "Well, when I grew up, I was like this, and when I grew up, I was like that." So now that we're kind of like in this situation together during quarantine, I have to we like grew a lot, so I'm kind of thankful for this time too, but we fought a lot to get to this point. So yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. So now what we're gonna do is the second part of the activity. So what we have to do is decide, looking at our thoughts and really thinking about the thoughts, we have to see what is the fruit that will come out of this thought. We don't want to see, is this thought good or is this thought bad? No. What we have to focus on is what fruit comes out of this thought that I have. And so after we decide that, we can decide whether we should throw it away or if we should keep it and let it develop and grow. For example, I wrote some examples here, some of my thoughts. The first one I wrote, there's nothing to do at home. Many people, because there's no school and there's some people don't have work, they're at home and they have exhausted all YouTube, Netflix, all of those things. And so when we look at this thought, there's nothing to do at home. What kind of fruit can come out of this thought? Maybe later on you're just going, because of this thought, you end up wasting time that you could do, wasting your time doing unproductive things. You could be using your time not for things that could really help or doing any new things. Also, you can end up feeling emptiness for wasting your day. I know that when I waste time, waste my day, at the end of the day, I feel this certain emptiness in my heart that really gives me pain. Also, you could end up starting unhealthy habits. And later on, you could lose maybe sense of worth because of this one thought. So in this way, we can see that, okay, this thought, the fruit that comes out of this thought is pretty negative. It doesn't really benefit me and it hurts me. So better, let me throw this one away. So this is what we're going to be doing together in a discussion and debating format. So first, let's talk about Benji's thought. I wish my parents were more understanding and we're not so old-fashioned, correct? Okay, so everyone, freely, what I love about this group is we have people who are older, we have people who are younger. Please, everyone, turn on your mics and let's discuss what fruits can come out of this thought.
So I think the most obvious fruit that comes out of this thought is the one I said previously. There's going to be a lot of misunderstandings. There's going to be a lot of fightings between us. So that's one fruit that's going to come out of this thought.
Right. Anybody else?
So I'm not sure exactly like what arguments or like discussions you had, but then I think like by labeling them old-fashioned, I think maybe you can also try to understand where they are coming from, because there's probably like a logic behind that. So the fruit, like a possible fruit, is like you end up just not understanding one another.
Right. Anyone of the older audience would like to contribute? So, Benji, we have to think, I wish my parents were less traditional. What is that the actual thought, or what is the true underlying statement from that is my parents are so traditional. Is that right? Like the real statement, the real thought is not just, oh, I wish they were like this. But that thought came from where? They're so traditional. They're so old. They don't understand. And so this thought is what? It is actually, like you said, distrust, right? So this is a thought of distrust. Now, we learned in our mind lecture that thoughts, they're seeds, they don't just stay still, but they're always growing. And so if this thought, if you let it grow, then if your parents speak to you maybe a little off one day, what happens? See, they're so traditional. Oh, see, they're like this. right? And so if we leave this thought inside of the heart field, what happens? Bigger and bigger becomes distrust. And when there's distrust, there's disconnection, there's unhappiness, and truly there's going to be a lot of pain, right? And so should this thought be thrown away, or should you let it stay and develop?
It'd be best if it was thrown away.
That's right. It would be best. Instead of that thought, you can plant a different seed if you'd like. Just like Kathleen said, you know, they're maybe starting to try to understand them. Yes, they're traditional. Yes, they're different from what I think. But what are they coming from? Number one, many more years of experience, maybe. Maybe they're trying to teach you something out of their love to you, and that's why they act in certain ways to you. And so if depending on what seed you plant, that is what's going to grow. Okay, so you don't have to try to understand them, but first plant that thought. Okay, thank you very much. We can go on and on forever, but you guys get the idea. And so everyone on your piece of paper, I hope that you're able to very often make a list, even if it's not like a physical list, but then deciding this is a thought I should keep or this is a thought I should throw away. So everyone, that's all for today. Thank you so much for participating in my mind education.
Okay, thank you for such an insightful lecture. Let's give her another round of applause. Thank you, Lydia. So how was it? I really liked the activity at the end of the lecture. I used to think what I think is, you know, just what I think. So I didn't know what was wrong with that. And then I haven't thought about my own thoughts this much deeply before. So I think I just played with my own thoughts, you know, without realizing that how exactly those thoughts are going to shape my life. So, you know, I never thought in a way that I need to organize my thoughts, you know, to decide which one I should keep and which one I should throw away. Well, one of the one thoughts about myself was I am not a good wife because I'm not good at cooking. And definitely I put that thought to the side of the ones that I have to throw away, because that's going to be make me have the fruit of some kind of self-condemnation or depression, and it will, you know, eventually lead me to an unhappy relationship with my husband because of that, you know, those kind of fruits. So yeah, it was such a great activity to organize my own thoughts, and hopefully you all had a meaningful time. So now we, even though we had some discussion time, but we like to hear more from you. So if you have any question this time about the lecture that you just heard from Lydia, and any thoughts that you had and that you couldn't share during the discussion time, then you can freely share that with us. Does
I have a
anyone have?
question.
All right, Sarah, go ahead.
So basically, I have this like certain thought, and I feel like it's so right, even though I asked like many different people, but they all say that it's wrong. But for me, I feel like it's so right. So what should I do?
Can you give me one example?
Maybe like same thing about like parents, like my mom doesn't care about me, or because she thinks, or my mom doesn't love me, or something like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah, for your question, and I really appreciate it. So Sarah, the most important, I think, is to see what fruits come out. The most important are the fruits. Sometimes seeds, we cannot identify them when they're just seeds, but when they grow up into a large tree and when it bears fruits, that is what everyone sees, and that's what really affects our lives. So no matter how right a thought may look, I hope that you can really think deeply about what fruits will come out and then decide whether it should be thrown away or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've learned from this lecture too, for myself as well, because I always try to think if this thought itself is right or wrong, but it's not really easy to make a decision on that. But when I think about the fruits that those thoughts will bring to me, then it's way easier to organize my thoughts. All right, does anyone have any other question?
So you briefly mentioned that like we need or we can have a tiller for like our heart field, but like just wondering, like, does that have to be me? Like, do I have to till my own heart?
That's a very good question, Kathleen. Thank you for asking. Actually, if you notice in the stories that I gave, for example, Oprah Winfrey, right? Now, what did Oprah have that Eileen Warnes not have? Actually, Oprah had her father. Her father was the one who gave her the thought, the new thought to plant inside of her heart. And so truly it's blessed to have many tillers around us. And so, no, not only you, me too. I'm not very good at tilling my heart. So what's important for me is to have somebody close to me, someone who can help me take care of my heart field. Thank you.
Thank you. So please share any questions, any thoughts freely with us. So one of the thoughts that I had while I was listening to the lecture, those two women's stories were very, touching my heart, because they all had the same experience when they were young, but the end of their life was really totally different. So as a mom who has two kids, and I'm really, really interested in, the ways how to raise my kids very well. But just like how Caitlin said, I want to be, sometimes I think I'm the one who knows everything for my kids. I think I should be the one who knows everything to, like, let's say in terms of tilling my kids' heart. But sometimes I myself don't know how to till my own heart. So, and whenever I meet that limit, whenever I meet, that difficult situation, I just try to, there's no other choice but, just giving up on that. And then, oh, I don't know how to do it. But ever since I met this Lighthouse Mind Education institution, and, as a learner as well, I'm so glad that I can learn little by little how to till my heart field first, and then how to teach my kids about the same thing, even though they are little kids. But I think the field of the heart is all the same, whether they are young or old. So I think this is really, really good lessons for me, especially for teaching my own kids. So yeah, those two stories of two women were, that was very, very insightful for me. Okay, so let's see if there's one last questioner for Lydia today. And I'll wrap up today's lecture. Before we finish today's Mind lecture, I would like to ask Lydia to summarize what we've learned today and what we've talked about during the discussion to wrap up today's lesson.
To summarize, I think that the most important thing in all of our lives is to really think deeply about what thoughts we have, because those thoughts don't just stay still, but surely they grow and they surely lead our life to that direction. And so to change my tomorrow, today I need to organize my thoughts. And then this is the true way we can become happy. And so, yes.
Thank you. It was such a great time for us to think about our heart and thoughts and how to maintain our heart field. I believe all of you had a meaningful time today. So this is all for today. Again, if you would like to get news about our future events from us, please send me your contact information through a private chat, or you can send me a text message or an email that you can see on the screen. And then there's one more thing. We couldn't broadcast this Mind lecture live as a live broadcasting on the Facebook because of there's technical issue today, but we're gonna post the recorded one later on the Facebook page. So you guys can review today's lecture later. So thank you so much. I will see you again tomorrow.